look, and there he is.
Can we just talk about? Hold on. Can we just talk about the album cover for a second? It's a bath mat that is hurdling something.
Oh,
a hurdle.
It's a dog.
No, it's a bath mat. It's a bath mat.
No,
it's a dog bath mat.
It's a dog, Randy.
I don't see paws. I just see a bath mat.
That's a dog.
I mean,
hey, our bath mat. It's a bath mat.
That's so Beck. That's so Beck. Beck is the kind
bath
of guy
mats,
that would do something that weird and just put it on the album.
Bath mats hurdling. Bath mats hurdling on a high school field.
So, all right. So, since we only have an X amount of time, I just want to dive into it. Were you guys fans of One Foot in the Grave? Like, were you fans before? I mean, obviously, Loser.
Sure.
But like, what was your relationship with Beck like pre Odelay?
So here's a good. Randy and I did our MTV show, Apartment 2F. It came out in 96, 97. So when we came out, like, we were very much in the MTV culture. We were like sort of part of like the early version of TRL. So Beck was exploding when, he did that interview with Loser where he like took his shoe off and was like banging it on the floor or something like that. And he just wasn't answering questions, and he was really kind of weird and funny. And we love that about him. And then this album comes out. Is this 97 or 98?
97, I want to say, right?
97.
So this comes out 97. Our TV show is on the air on MTV, Apartment 2F, in the 10 spot. And this album is such a huge, like it's such a massive success, and it's an artistic accomplishment. It's such a huge leap from his first album to this.
I mean, we liked the Mellow Gold, and we loved Loser. I love the song Beer Can. I think that song is so good. That's such a good song, and it, again, but he really put it all together. Like, he had a few good songs on that on Mellow Gold. I really liked it, but I felt like he put together an unbelievable album. When Where It's At came out, and there's that computer riff on two turntables and a microphone, and you're like, oh, wait, they can do, and that's, I know that's a lot, the Dust Brothers, but I was like, oh, you can do that? Like, you can do these things, like, in songs? It just, people weren't really taking those types of chances, certainly in his style of music, and the lyrics were just so weird and cool. I remember that we were trying to figure out what our outfits would look like on the MTV show, how we would dress, and Beck was wearing like this brown used car salesman suit in the Where It's At video when he's like outside at like the used car lot and whatever. We're like, okay, Jay works in an office, he should be wearing a Beck suit. I remember we told that to the costumer. The Beck suit that he's wearing, like, find him those suits. Yeah. Just kind of a somewhat ill-fitting, definitely thrift store buy of a suit. And Randy should just look like, I don't know, every member of Smash Mouth. I can't remember what it was. Or Randy should look like he's in the band Len. He's like the one guy they don't let sing in Len.
Well, because I was younger when Loser really popped. I think I was, I want to say I was in high school. And the only reason I really got behind Loser was because there was this guy that I hung out with, Mike Barbarisi, who was like the cool guy. He was the guy that dressed kind of like Beck would, in that he would wear a suit to high school and everybody, but like real fly with the butterfly collar. Yeah. And we used to smoke pot together. And I remember he was a huge fan of Beck, and Loser, I just thought it was just a flash in the pan. Mm-hmm. I thought it was just like, all right, this is a one-hit wonder. I never really dug into Mellow Gold. And then when this came out, this took time. This actually came out in 96.
96 it came out. That's right. It came out in 96.
But the singles started getting released into 97. So we did our pilot in 96 and it got picked up, and then the season was in 97. And I just remember there was such a variety when you think about Odelay as an album. I mean, you start with the cover, as we were talking about. It's not a bath mat. It's a dog jumping over her.
It's a dog.
But so there's humor. You can already tell there's a little bit of humor in this. But, like, there are country songs on here. There are hip-hop.
There are country moments in songs and hip-hop moments in songs. And then, like, Novocaine is, like, a super dark song. I mean, there's just so much. He managed to get all these eclectic things, kind of like Loser was a bunch of eclectic ideas that he smashed into a song that just kind of worked.
Yeah, lyrically, there were a lot of, like, he smashed a lot of things together to make Loser, and then musically in this album, he did it with the music, and it's I mean, I think it's a masterpiece when I think about this album, and I think about if it can't. We talked about this when we were talking about the Weezer album, the Blue Album with you down at Moon Tower. If you can sit and listen to an album, which I own the vinyl of this, and I listen to this with my kids. If you can listen to an album and be like, if this came out today, it would be either highly revered and regarded in the indie world, or it would be a big success. And if it came out in 1979 or 81 or 82, it would be seen as that. Mm-hmm. Like, it just is that. Like, it could come out in any decade. It would be a huge success, I think.
No, I think this holds up more than most of. Well, here I'm not gonna say more than most of his records. I think all of his records hold up. If you listen to any Beck album,
oh yeah,
except when you start getting to like Guero and The Information, they're not like I want to say they're timeless, but I think they do sound very like 2004 and 2005.
Midnight Vultures is another masterpiece. That's another masterpiece. It's incredible. And Midnight Vultures, I felt like he wrote a lot of these songs together and was like, okay, which songs are going to go on the next album? You know what I mean? He just kept evolving and keeps evolving as an artist. I think his last album with he's like standing in front of like the whatever
the Corvette.
Is it a Corvette or is it like the Back to the? It's like a DeLorean. It's like it's nondescript, whatever that sports car is, and it's all kind of blown out. I think that album is incredible. I was like, you just keep doing it, man. So, like you said with Loser, Josh, you kind of thought, is this going to be a flash in the pan? And then you realize, oh no, this guy, he gets broken up in like a serious breakup and then writes Sea Change, and it's like one of the saddest, most beautiful albums ever. And Morning Phase is just an incredible, like, calm exploration of all this stuff. And yet you're like, okay, it all fits. It's not like, oh, he's trying to do all this stuff. I really get the feeling that all this stuff is in this guy's head.
But I would put Odelay like kind of on par with Paul's Boutique a little bit. And that when it arrived, you were like, oh, okay, so the Beastie Boys are actually playing on a higher plane right now with Paul's Boutique. They're going to shed all the people who are like frat boy lovers, and they're going to like really create something special. I felt the same way with this album. I mean, right out of the gates with Devil's Haircut, you got a tasty groove. And it's such a like memorable hook. You keep coming back with that Devil's Haircut in my mind. That's such a weird like turn of a phrase. I've got a devil's haircut. What a funny turn of a phrase that like represents everything that he does. And then it ends in such like disarray and such like energy.
Screaming, distorted screaming.
But here's the thing, and you mentioned it, is that Beck does both things so equally. Mm-hmm. He does the Dust Brothers-y, hip-hop-y, cornucopia of music and sounds, and then he does the acoustic stuff so fucking well. What version of Beck is better? Is it Odelay Beck or is it Sea Change Beck?
Oh man. I mean, that's a great question because I mean, I think it's Odelay Beck. That's what I prefer. But I love Sea Change. And the fact that he can do it on such a high level where you don't say to yourself, that's Beck trying to do this other thing. You're just like, no, that's just part of what he does. I mean, you kind of see a little bit of it, of like that Sea Change stuff on Lord Only Knows. Lord Only Knows. There's like a little bit of that kind of country, kind of softer. It's so good.
And Ramshackle is just that slow vroom 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 vroom. Which is probably the most powerful song on the whole record. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying taking anything away from New Pollution or where it's at, but it's like what a perfect way to end the record, which is showing that it's like, look, I can do all the Dust Brothers hip hop stuff. Right. And I can be ahead of this time, and I can do music that no one else is doing. Because that's the thing about this record is at the time, not one person was even touching what Beck was creating on this record.
That's right.
But then to be able to do Sea Change, 3 albums later?
Yeah.
Because this is what I love about him. What I love about him is that it's like I don't feel like he's making music for the time. I feel like he's making music for whatever he's going through in his life. So
Absolutely.
in Odelay, he's in his like early 20s. He's already done some acoustic stuff with one and blues stuff with One Foot in the Grave. Then he does Mellow Gold, which is kind of the beginning of this. Then he goes into Odelay, which is just, he probably heard Paul's Boutique and was like, I want that.
I mean, Mario C likes to keep it clean. He's on the board here. He's on the board here. I'm looking at it. It's produced by Mario Keldado. I mean, Mario C, that's him. He's producing this. So, like, he probably clearly listened to Paul's Boutique and said, I want these guys to produce my next album. So I will bring what I have to it, but you get the feeling that he's willing to collaborate. Our friend Alex Edelman, who is great comic.
Yeah.
Great
comic.
I
got a story.
About him and Beck.
He knows how much I love Beck.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Beck live. I've seen Beck live probably 19, 20 times. Wow. I stopped going. Here's the deal: is that I saw him for the Midnight Vultures tour with my sister. We were front row. It was great. The bed came out when he did Deborah, which I know you guys. God. Just so everybody knows,
my favorite.
Randy and Jay have done the jam almost as much as anybody on the show. They have a collection of music that they have done. The one song for the last 4 years,
probably 3 years. 3 years we've been pushing this, and you're like, no, every time. You're like, do not even. You're right. You're right, and we're wrong. You know it way better than us, and we're happy.
That's why we always acquiesce. We never push through your reservation.
You're like, it's a great song. I love that song, and you guys can probably do it. And in the sound check, we started messing around, and we were like, ooh, we can do this, but it's not. We'll do it at some point, but I'm just telling you,
we'll do it somewhere.
We'll do it. I know for a fact the people that are going to get it are going to get it, and they're going to love it. But
the people who aren't are going to check the F out.
It's because we have Centerfold in our back pocket always. I think we could start with Deborah and then go into
Centerfold
and finish strong with Centerfold.
Just finish strong with Centerfold.
Mashup.
Just a mashup. I mean, it's I wonder, and this is my question to you, Josh, what you think about, and then we'll get back to Alex Edelman, because Alex opened for Beck. He opened for him. I mean, the way he described it to me is like, and this is exactly how you think Beck would be. Like, I think Beck saw him and liked his stuff, and he's such a smart comic and a great comic. And Beck was like, meet me in Oakland. I'll be at this place he calls him as like, I'm in Oakland on like the 17th. I'll be at this arena playing. Yeah. And that was it. And Alex is like, is there anyone I talk to like go up there? Nothing. He's like, I'll just meet you up there. What? So Alex Edelman is going to look, looking like he looks, just a normal dude, is going to walk up to the backstage area or during sound check and say, hey, I'm opening for Beck tonight. Like, he gave him no like pre-plan. Like, that's Beck. He's not going to give you an itinerary of how you're going to get there. You know what I mean? And like, he's just like, all right, I guess I'm coming up here to open for Beck, and you just do it. He's that ethereal.
So I've seen Beck, like I said, a bunch of times. There was one show that I saw in Santa Clarita or Santa Clara, like up the one,
right?
Like 2 hours south of San Francisco, and beautiful beach show, small theater, 600 people. It was Beck, his pianist Roger Manning Jr., and the dude on bass. And I mean, he had no plan whatsoever.
Yeah.
He did 4 songs, and then he goes, "All right, what do you guys want me to play?" And
the
then
best.
Everybody. And it's like, so every show after that, I was chasing the dragon for that show, but it was all the same. Always open with Devil's Haircut, go into fucking Black Tambourine, go into this. And I started like worn out. And then a few months ago here in New York City, I saw Beck was doing an acoustic show at Irving Plaza. So I immediately set my timer, bought tickets. Nice. I had general admission. Then I get to the show. Alex is performing. I text Alex, yo, I'm here. Amazing. He gets me up to the fucking balcony. It's like me, the dude from Moldy Peaches,
Adam Green,
Not Marion Cirque, but Marion Ways, like just like
Yeah.
random.
I love Marion Ways, yeah.
And then
Awesome.
the show's over, and Beck, goes to the green room, and Adam's like, or Alex is like, hey, so you guys want to come to the after party? And I'm like, duh. And we go to this after party, and Beck's there, and I was lucky because I've worked with Sean Lennon a few times. I'm on his record with Les Claypool doing voiceover.
That's funny. Jay and I have worked with Julian Lennon a bit. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
We did all the backing vocals on Velat.
Sitting on a river by a hill. Anyway,
Sitting on a pebble by
I wish
a
I
river.
knew more
How is he
Julian
sitting on a
Lennon.
pebble?
Sitting on a pebble by a river playing guitar.
How are you sitting on a pebble? All right, go ahead.
I just know the one song, the one that's like, when it's just too late for
goodbye.
2 hits. 2 goddamn hits.
Two.
2 goddamn hits.
He had one.
Velat.
He had one,
Velat.
dude.
Velat was a big one. Just Too Late to Say Goodbye
Velat,
and Velat.
Raptor.
Anyway, let's continue on. This
So
isn't
you
a
go to the
Julian
after
Lennon.
party.
So I'm at the after party, and everybody's there as tour manager. There's like very eccentric chefs, like from like Mexico, that are just friends with Beck, and all these artists, and everybody's super cool. And Beck's walking around, and I'm not gonna bum rush him. And he goes around to everybody throughout the night. At the end of the night, I got to talk to him for like 15 minutes because my other run-in with Beck was like total fanboy. I scared the shit out of him I was at the Oaks. He was walking with his family and like Giovanni Ribisi, and I'm just oh my God, I love you so much, and I just go off.
Oh God!
But this time I was cool, calm, and collected.
Nice.
And at the end of it, he was so cool and so gentle. And I said to him, I was like, man, I shouted it out. Why didn't I really wish you would play Sing It Again, which I love about Beck. It's like all these songs are great. All the songs off Sea Change are great. All the big album songs are great. But if you're a fan like I am, it's these little nuggets that he releases throughout every record. Those are the ones that are great. That's why I'm a huge fan. And
Odelay has a bunch of those. Like, I mean, I'm a person who's like, it's hard to sometimes change gears on an album as much as he changes gears, because it's like, I'm going to put this album on during dinner, and then all of a sudden Novocaine comes on, and it's just like insane, but like...
Was this... Well, let me ask you this. Was this, because you guys, I was still in high school, and the only person I remember listening to this record was Steve Zuraff, that like really loved this record and was like, you guys need to get it. Steve Z. See, he looked like who was the blonde dude that played for the Terps that also played in the NBA longer than Juan Dixon? Steve Blake. He looked like Steve Blake. He looked like Steve Blake, and
Hilarious.
he was tall like Steve
when
Blake.
Steve Blake was in the NBA, you're like, he's either in the NBA or he is my weed dealer.
I mean, you know how like Jason Williams in the NBA was white chocolate? Steve Blake was white carob.
He was white Boba Tea. But this is the thing. But we used to take him to the bars in University of Maryland, and everybody would think he was Steve Blake, and so he would just play into it.
Hilarious.
But he wasn't like a super cool guy, but he understood what was great. Yeah, there he is, dude. Look at him, dude. That's back when he played for the Blazers, dude.
I mean, and
he
that was
for like 19 teams.
And that was back when he was in the Heaven's Gate cult too.
He was also our weed guy. He was our beeper. He was the beeper guy.
He was our beeper guy.
But what was it like? Because you guys are older than me. What was it? Was everybody playing this record at the time?
Yes.
It was on every party, everything.
In New York, everybody was playing. Everyone we knew was playing this record. Like we had the CD, so we would play it all the time, like nonstop. And you'd go to parties at people's apartments, and just people were playing this. It was playing, and everyone who was cool was listening to it. Everybody who was cool,
and we knew a lot of MTV people, so a lot of music people, and it was just an interesting time. And it was like one of those albums that, as it came out, we were young adults, but like people were like, "This is a seminal album. This album will last." People knew it when it came out.
So I can't believe, Jay and I do a sports podcast called View from the Cheap Seats, and we play a lot of to our audience, introduce a lot of musical artists to play music in and out of the breaks. It's like a huge part of what we do. So much so that we've now started doing this twice a year. is like a music episode where we talk about what are the best songs we found this year with a couple people, Jonah Ray, our buddy Jay Logic, who's a DJ, and Matt Price, who is fantastic, like actor, comedian, and had a music podcast. So Josh, we'll invite you eventually to do this. Okay, let's just say that right now.
I was like,
why aren't you inviting me to do it? Anyway, you know, all of our favorite music people who do music podcasts, we invite to do this. But it's like it's a tiny part of our show. I mean, we often say that our sports show is like where comedy, like indie rock, and sports all meet, which is just like a bizarre T-stop intersection that like no one would put together, but it just works for us. That's why we relate to Beck so much. Is that so? Then from that we can do in December, we do one of the favorite songs we found this year that came out this year, and then we just recorded. It's going to drop on July 8th. What are your or 7th? What are the favorite songs you found this year that didn't come from this year? So you were introduced to it, and maybe it came out in 2015. Maybe it came out in 1971. So we did those songs, the mid-year music thing.
Yeah.
But it's like we took a sliver of what we do in the regular show, and that became the full other thing. And we had no clue that we could do a whole other podcast about that. I feel like Odelay is kind of like that, where he showed you slivers of what would ultimately become full albums later. Like just a tiny riff in a song, and you're like, well, he did a whole album of that stuff later.
Basically.
And
it's
to me,
I like that. Good.
It's cool. Like, I wonder if he knew what he was doing. If he knew what he was showing you, what he would ultimately do, or it was just a beautiful, happy accident.
I think he just touched on all the things, like, as you're sort of quote unquote figuring out your voice, even in comedy and whatnot, you kind of just gravitate to all the things that make you funny. So, like, let's say you're not really a dirty comic, but you write like a super dirty bit, and you're like, oh, this is really funny and I love it. But later you're like, that doesn't really fit my style, and it ends up putting off a lot of my audience. So you don't do it 15 years in, but you try it at the beginning. I think you're into trying everything that you like and everything that kind of you connect with and that you think is good in that moment. And I think that's what this album was. It was a cornucopia. It was a smorgasbord of like all these different styles.
Did you call it a smorgasbord? Like Bjorn Borg? You did. It's a smorgasbord. It's a board.
Smorgasbord.
A Bjorn smorgasbord.
This podcast is, I think, our last time doing Beck. So this is the Stefan Enberg.
Folks, Enbergs. I love it. Very good.
Edberg. It's Edberg. It's the Edberg.
It's Endberg. It's the you don't say the Edberg anymore. You're not allowed to say it.
Hey, man, I'm a little short on money. Can you Yvonne Lendl me some money?
So Yvonne Lendl, we always said, looked like a James Bond villain.
And then as soon as it goes into your account,
he does.
He does look like a Bond villain.
Right? Does. Like, I felt like in changeovers, he should have, like, sat down at the chair and had 2 Doberman pinchers that he would just stroke as he was waiting to get up to the next set, and just throw them 2 steaks and then go out and play the next set.
That's how he finally could have won Wimbledon. He
did. I think
he didn't. He did not. Yvonne, because that was the riff that me and my buddies used to say. I've never won Wimbledon. Oh my God,
No. Show him when he was
younger.
Show
an old picture of Lendl.
He's younger.
He looks like the lead singer of Sigur Rós. I saw Beck, dude. Check out this weekend that I just went on. So I missed my spot at Stand Up New York, and it was up at the Beacon, and I was 15 minutes late, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't put you up," and I was like, fuck it, and I start walking back. Sigur Rós just started playing their set at Beacon, so I was like, fuck it, I'll go. I get tickets. The guy goes, I got $99 and $125 tickets. I was like, what's the difference? He goes, $125, you're in the second row. It's going to be a different concert experience. Right. I am a very passive Sigur Rós fan. I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
Dude, it was one of the best
shows.
Believe it. I was like, I have to go again. I went the next night.
What?
Great seats, because I didn't have a spot until like 1:45 a.m.
Amazing.
So I was like, I'll go again. Trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice, didn't do it because I was sitting next to a guy, like a real creepy New Yorker, kind of going bald. He shushed me when I was opening up a Ricola.
Oh, you can't do that.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, come on, you don't do that with Sigur Rós. I thought Sigur Rós' name was Sugar Rios for a long time. You gonna see that Sugar Ray?
Put your arms around me, baby.
What if Sugar Ray opened up for Sigur Rós?
Wait a sec. Wait, here's the deal. So you want to? I'll relate this to what this crazy circular conversation comes back to Beck Odelay. So you look at what Sugar Ray was doing. He was kind of that band was like a hardcore. Mark McGrath and those guys were like a hardcore kind of punk band. And then they did Fly because they were trying to like chase down
what Sublime was doing.
Yeah, they were trying to chase down what was popular. Meanwhile, Beck, like that's a guy who's chasing a trend. Beck with Odelay was setting all these trends. That's what you felt.
Yes.
It's a huge difference between those two things, and that's why Beck is still making albums.
The confidence
is
hosting, Access Hollywood. No, he's not doing Access Hollywood. I think he's doing something else. By the way, Yvonne Lendl made the Wimbledon finals in 86 and 87, did not win. Did win.
I told you.
3 U.S. Opens, 3 French. Look at that. I mean, 3 U.S. Opens, 3 French Opens. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Get ready to...
Josh.
7 sacks, 7 wives. How much for your pies, John McClane?
Did you know that
I believe the score in life is 40-love, Mr. Bond. Game, set, match 007.
Just so we know everybody's listening, hashtag Yvonne Lendl. For this episode, anything you write about it, hashtag Yvonne Lendl. I want to see if you listen to this shit.
Did you know that I had Vetus Garolitis for a month and I had to get rid of it?
You have to get a lot of creams.
I had Garolitis.
Is that the girl that like with that Latina girl with the big ass that was like in Maxim magazine?
No,
that's Vita Guerra.
That's Vita.
And
bring it back to Guerro, and we're back to Beck, guys. Okay, we are back.
So you just said something I want to riff off of that, but it was Beck is the trendsetter.
Yeah.
Does Beck get the respect he deserves?
Totally.
Or you think he does?
Yes. Yeah, because
I don't think he does.
So here's what I realize about Beck. Beck doesn't want to be so famous and so huge that he can't live a life. I feel like Beck could go to Trader Joe's in certain places and not be recognized. Like, I think a lot of people would recognize him, but like he can still live a partial. Like if Tom Cruise walked into Trader Joe's, like people would be like, "What's going on? Are they filming something?" They lose their brains, and they'd be like,
also he'd be doing parkour between the aisles. He'd be like,
and also someone with
on fire while I run through this aisle.
Also, he's so short, someone would pick him up and put him into a car with his legs hanging out because
he's like, I do all my own bagging, I do all my own stunts, I do all my own bagging.
And you say to yourself, like, I think it was Album of the Year. And he won this major award later in his career. Now, the crazy thing is, Jay and I are 50, and we feel like, and I know you feel this way because we've had deep discussions with you. You've been at this for a long time. Jay and I feel like we're doing our best material now, like our best stuff we're doing now. It's not to say we didn't do great stuff earlier or didn't have classic bits that we really love and material and specials and things that we really enjoyed. We feel like we're doing our best stuff now. I feel like Beck feels that way. Getting that Grammy for Morning Phase, I feel like validates the whole circle of what we're talking about here, which is that he wasn't just a one-hit wonder with Loser. He wasn't just a, flash in the pan thing. He was so complex, filled with so much, and all of that is present on Odelay that then later gets disseminated into his other albums. And he's had like a career that I would argue Coldplay would fucking beg to have. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Coldplay isn't.
Yeah, because he's cooler. There's like something about what Beck has that is like infinitely cooler. And I think it's because he makes you. I put, we're huge Wilco fans, and so a Beck album is like a Wilco album. They make you work for it a little bit at the beginning. Like you have to I imagine when I have a new album of a Wilco album, it's like a bunch of little islands. I love track 7 immediately. I love track 2 immediately. That's the same way with Beck. I like track 4. And then all of a sudden the islands start connecting. You're like, wait, I love track 5 and 6. So now I love 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it's like a long isthmus. It's an island. It's a continent now.
It's a peninsula, Jay. Let's get your terms right,
baby.
Yeah, dude, come on.
So it just feels like Beck makes you work. Like even the intro to New Pollution is like you come out of this chaotic sort of boo boo boop 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 boop, and then you're into it makes you work through that beginning to get to this very sort of hit,
almost like a '60s song.
yeah,
You know?
catchy
Yeah.
melody.
Catchy melody, and he wasn't afraid to like throw that on there, and it all works. It's like that person who's wearing just a crazy mismatched outfit that you're like, I can't believe you put all these things together, but it looks awesome on you.
Yeah, look, I can't agree with you. I mean, I can't agree with you more about
Right.
what you're saying. Look, I think this is perfect. I just don't think that he should have gotten the Grammy for that record. He should have gotten it for this or
Midnight
for CJ
Vultures.
or even Midnight Vultures.
I agree,
Yeah.
agreed. But like but it's crazy
And
because
it's like Scorsese.
yeah, it's like Scorsese getting it for The
Yeah.
Departed. You're like, well, why didn't he get it for Goodfellas, and why didn't he get it for
Taxi Driver.
Taxi
I
or
still
whatever?
feel like a lot of people don't really, one, know who Beck is, or two, like, even
I think
think
he
that
likes
he
it.
deserved the Grammy when he won more for Morning Phase.
Maybe, but I think he likes it, and I think everyone in the music industry who he interacts with on a regular basis considers him a legend for the reasons what we talked about earlier, that he was so cutting edge, doing so many things, and he has a lot of fans, and he can sustain himself very easily by doing all the things. And if Beck was like, I'm gonna quit playing and I'm just gonna start Raikkootering this shit and like producing other people's albums, like, wouldn't you want to see what Beck would do to produce like an Angel Olsen album, or how Beck would handle, like, what if Beck produced the next Arcade Fire album? You'd be like, I can't wait to hear
What
that.
if Beck
Yeah.
did the next? What if Beck did the next Time album or the next?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, you get the point that like there's a lot of ideas in this guy's head, and I want to see him play every single one of those out. So when he's like, I'm done playing music, which I don't think he should. I think he's again created certain music that he can go out and do. Like, there'll come a point in time where he can't do Deborah, and he can't do like Where It's At, and he can't do those songs, but maybe in a stripped down version he can, as like a 70-year-old dude or something like that. And he is like in a genius way laying the groundwork to be able to do that for the rest of his life. As performers, we feel like, how are we going to keep doing this whole time? And I feel like he's laying that down. I mean, I think I'm looking at Jackass. That's one of my favorite songs on this album.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's
Sissy Neck. The whistle at the beginning of Sissy Neck I love so much.
So
Yeah.
I think Beck is a guaranteed Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah. No question.
Didn't make it this year because I voted on him and he did not make it. He did not make it on, I think it's his second year on the ballot.
He will. He'll
No,
get
he
there.
will. And what's funny was when I showed people that I voted for him, they said it's too early. You got to get Pat Benatar in. You got to get in Devo. You got to get in Judas Priest and like Dolly Parton. And I was like, really?
I mean, Dolly Parton, I think, cares less about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as she does. Like, she's in. Have you been down to Nashville and like the Country Music Hall of Fame?
I've been
So,
to
like,
Country Music Hall of Fame, but I go to Nashville all the time.
So the Country Music Hall of Fame is amazing. They actually
Awesome.
have like I would consider like their version of the bust room of the NFL Hall of Fame, where it's like the best of the best people in these like big like iron plaques of the face of the artist, and these are like all the legends in like it's like the Hall of Fame within the Hall of Fame, and Dolly Parton's on that. And I feel like once she made that, she's like, oh, I don't have to do it. It doesn't. Whatever else happens, who cares?
No, look, Dolly Parton deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I mean, putting
It's like she achieved her final goal. Like when BTS, the Korean pop band, right? BTS is the name of it. Like when they got a sandwich at McDonald's, it was like, we did it, guys. We don't have to achieve anything else. We've done our goal. We've achieved it on a certain level.
is this Beck's best album?
What do you think, Jay?
I think, yes, I can argue that it's his best album. It's pretty remarkable how young he was when he made it, and part of me is like, that's why it should be his best album. I think it's very close for me between this and Midnight Vulture. So
Me too. That's a hard one to do. I love Midnight
they're like
Vultures
1
so
and
much.
1A. If on one day I could say Midnight Vultures is better. Midnight Vultures might beat it out because it has the phrase "She looks
So Israeli.
Or she is so Israeli.
She is so Israeli, nicotine and gravy. I think you could easily put it this way. You could make a case for this being, and I wouldn't argue against that case. You know how like music is very proprietary. You know this. People get very upset about stuff when you're like, no, Odelay's the best. No, actually. I mean, once people come at you and then actually you're like, this conversation is over. Yeah. But if someone made the case that Odelay is his best album, and I think you can make a very strong case, I would not argue it. I would be like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Even if like sometimes like Jay and I vacillate back and forth between Midnight Vultures and Odelay. For me, those are two great albums. Although Sea Change I've been listening to a lot and I'm just like, wow, it's incredible. This just has more of a wide breadth of all the music that he did. Like I think at the end of Beck's career, you will look back and say Odelay was the album that launched all the rest of the albums that he did.
It's almost like on a Broadway show at the beginning of the night, they do the overture. Overture, where they play like a little snippet of all the songs that you're gonna hear throughout the night.
This is the overture for the rest of his career.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say this is his best record. I think Sea Change is his best record. I think that's every song is just as important as the one before it. I think the sequencing of it is incredible to open.
It's a concept. It's someone whose heart was broken, you know. I mean,
and you feel it. And you feel it. It's like it doesn't have to be about a relationship. It could literally be when Ange died, I listened to it. Break, listen to it through like my existential breakthrough. I listened to it. It's
you lose something, and then this album helps you get through it. You know what I loved about that album, Sea Change, is that the music and the lyrics fit each other. It's so funny sometimes, like very upbeat music can be coupled with like the most down lyrics. Bands will do that.
That's Bell and Sebastian. That's like a Bell and Sebastian.
Right. Bell and Sebastian is happy, lucky, we're so excited. And then it's just like the world's ending. But I felt like Sea Change was, I mean, just the line, I guess I'm doing fine. It's like, you're not. You're absolutely not. It was and even in that line is humor. That's why I think we all kind of gravitate towards Beck, is because he has a sense of humor, and it's not like I'm going to tell a jokey joke. Here comes like I'm not doing a parody of a song of something, but he just has a sense of humor there's a cleverness to what he does. And I think he puts a premium. That's why he had someone like Alex Edelman open for him. It's why he likes comedy, is that he understands that how difficult it is to do it.
He performs at Largo a lot. He does Largo Los Angeles, which is to see him there is just unreal.
It's going to that show at Irving Plaza has definitely like sparked my interest to want to go see him again. For a guy that loved him so much, that record that you were talking about with him in front of the DeLorean, I don't think I've actually listened to that all the way through because here's I know, and the tracks I've heard I fucking love. I thought Beck had never made a bad song until Colors came out, and then when Colors came out, I have
Colors.
So do I, but I'm not like a fan. It's like out of all the records, that's my least favorite Beck album.
Well, Colors has Wow on it. I think Wow is that's one of my favorite songs that he's ever made. And isn't that crazy?
Well, that's kind of like this. This is like a Midnight Vulture-y, Odelay-y, Dust Brothers song. It's the rest of it just like, I just want to stay up all night with you. I was like,
so then
which was Hell Yes on? Which was Hell Yes?
Hell Yes is on Guero.
It's on Guero.
But like, so Hyperlife, Uneventful Days, See-Through, Hyperspace, Stratosphere. I'm telling you have to listen to this album because it is more like Sea Change. It's more of an electronic Sea Change. It's so good. Dark Places, Everlasting Nothing. These songs are massive, awesome, moody, sort of synthy, incredible songs with all of Beck's beauty to his voice in there. So I'm going to make you do a second look at Hyperspace. Yeah, it looks like
I'll listen to it.
Yeah, that looks like an old DeLorean, but it's not a DeLorean. It looks like it's probably, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know enough about cars to know what that is.
Not to get off subject, but you want to know who I saw last night at the Hammerstein?
Who?
Midnight Oil.
Oh, how can we sleep? How did you sleep after that? How did you sleep after that? I mean,
very stoned. I took a lot of edibles. And
your beds were burning.
My beds were burning, and my crotch. It was great, dude. Honestly, it was one of the most fun shows that I wasn't expecting, and it was just the audience was just all like Australian, drunk oafs.
Yeah, guys wearing guys wearing very small black shoes with Velcro over the side, and you're like, is that a dress shoe?
Everyone had
or
a duster.
sneaker?
Everyone had a duster on. Wait, is he still bald? Is the lead singer still bald?
My God.
I would.
He hasn't aged. He has not aged.
That's right, because he looked old back then.
He looked like the bald guy who was in all those like '80s horror movies, and then in who
Hills
was
Have
in
Eyes. He was the Hills
Weird-
Have
no.
Eyes guy.
he was like in Weird Science, the bald guy who had the he was in a bunch of
Hills Have Eyes guy.
Citizen Toxie, yeah, that guy, yeah.
And he did everything I needed. He did the dances, a lot of like. I loved it. I waited, and I was checking the set list, and I was like, all right, they're doing Beds of Burning, second to last before the encore. So I'll just like be high and like dick around. And dude, every song I was like, oh my God, this is actually really good. But every
Great.
song basically like, First Nation people, we need to save them. Oceans are covered in plastic. The whole
Yeah, I mean,
show.
he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Lying. He ain't lying.
But contrast that with the complexity of these Beck songs and how many things are. Jay and I appreciate it on so many levels, because I feel like whenever Jay and I have a bad set of comedy, we'll always walk away and be like, we need to simplify this shit. It's just too complex. It's too complex what we're trying to do. It's too complicated. But when it goes correct and every single detail that we put in there completely hits the way we want it to, and every layer works the way we want it to, it is like the most sublime feeling. And that happens, that I would say that happens a small portion of the time. A large portion of the time, it's just we're really enjoying ourselves and the set is fun. And then a small portion of the time, we're like, this is too complex. We gotta. But what I love about Beck is he's uncompromising with, specifically on this album, with how complex he's being. The amount of things he's throwing in, the break beats, the like weird things that are like come in that aren't part of the musical song that you're playing in the room, that are produced over it. And he's like, yeah, this is it. You either like it or you don't. And so many people flock to it.
Go ahead. So, I was just going to say, and I think what's also super impressive, and for us, what feels inspiring, is that this is a guy who's done it now in 4 decades. Okay?
Yeah.
He did it in the 90s. He did it in the aughts. He did it in the teens. And he's doing it still. And for people who started really in the 90s also, I'm not saying we have the same trajectory as this guy. I'm just saying we can be inspired by it. We have been at it for a long time, trying to continue to evolve and do new things, but still keep the essence of who we are. And I think that's what is so amazing about who he is. He is still Beck, but he is giving you something new and interesting and developed and different every single time. And this
I'm just thinking about the organ on where it's at. Just the simple organ on that, just the way the song starts. I'm like, to me, the second I hear it, I'm immediately thrust back to 1996, 97, when we were 24, 25 years old, living in New York City, walking around. It's summer, it's morning, it's not too hot yet, and you're walking around the city, and that song is like playing in a Discman that you're holding, and just riding the subway and whatnot. And it just, I don't know, it just evokes so much, just that simple, beautiful, warm first organ notes. It's just incredible.
This was a record that I listened to so much. I mean, to the point where it was like I had to stop, and I was like, all right, I need something else because I'm starting to hate it. I've listened to it so much. I used to listen to this when I would walk to my friend's house. This is a stupid story, but do you remember when, I think it was when Cal Ripken retired?
Yeah.
They kind of televised it all over television, and me and my buddy raided my parents' liquor cabinet, and then also made a bunch of phone calls to Miss Cleo. Remember Miss Cleo?
Yeah, psychic, TV psychic.
At the daddy, like that lady. And in the ad, it said you get 12 minutes free. But what they really meant, which I found out later, was that you get the first 2 minutes of 6 phone calls free.
Right. They're going to charge you.
Exactly.
They get you.
And I called, and we kept calling. When we heard this bong, we would hang up, but we kept calling. The drunker we got, we stayed on longer. Well,
oh my God.
Cut to like 2 months later,
You get the bill.
well, here's the thing is that day I was like, I had just gotten a B on my philosophy exam. I was in junior college and I used to like pour these huge glasses, like this big of like this much vodka right there. And then that much orange juice. And I would just chug it. And I did 2 of them, put on Odelay, and then started walking to my friend's house. And I got, it's like a mile walk. You have to go through like a school and through this like back road. And next thing I know, I wake up, it's the next morning. Ooh. And my bedroom's trashed. And then I had to piece everything back together. What I found out happened was I was listening to Odelay. I fell asleep in the middle of the road.
What?
He woke me up. I walked to my friend's house. My friend's like, dude, we got to take you home. They take me home. I'm wasted drunk. They get me into bed. And that was the exact day. It's like 5 p.m. That's the exact day the bill came for the Miss Cleo thing. And my dad woke. Can we
guess how much? Can we guess how much it is?
Yeah.
Can we guess how much it was, Jay? What do you think it was?
$973.
I bet it was like $480.
You're 480's close. It was 460, like 450, 460.
That's so much money at that age. That's so much money. That's so much.
So my dad came up and I think we wrestled. I don't know what happened. I think I took him because he was older. But this album, anytime I put this on, I think about that moment, being that drunk. It was just stupid youth. I listen to this record, like you said, it takes me back to just, no credit card debt, no student loan debt. Just it's
different, also different world, also man.
Different world. Pre 9/11. There was,
funny. I was playing for my daughter last night because we're recording this on the day after Father's Day. She's like, "What do you want to watch?" And we had hung out, and then, late. Started watching this movie late and we had to stop it in the middle, but I showed her, she's going to be a senior next year. I showed her Dazed and Confused. I'm like, if you're watching Euphoria, I can show you Dazed and Confused because whatever paint they're huffing in Euphoria, and I've seen it. It's like, whatever that, it's not even going to compare. Like Slater is like nothing. You're talking about weed and this and that. And so we watched it we watched like half of it and she was 100% taken with the mood of people not on their phones and people not, people fully engaged with what's going on, and some things were troubling and some things weren't, but like it just seemed like a beautiful day that laid out. It just was perfectly what Richard Linklater wanted her to feel. Yeah. And I feel like this album came along at a time that was, perfectly in that zone too, where we just didn't have as many of the things that consume our time right now.
Yeah. There was, I think about that when I hear music from this time a lot that I connected with at that time. So like to me, to hear like a song from the 70s that I didn't know when I was 7 years old, I don't have that same connection. But with this album, I was very much a present adult living out in the world. And the main difference from when Odelay came out to now is that the problems of the world, while you could connect with them when you needed to, they weren't invading your daily thoughts and your daily life. Like COVID and the intensity of politics and the intensity of what we're dealing with, it was out there in the universe. COVID wasn't, but that kind of stuff was out there, but it wasn't invading your daily life. And we had a happier life, I feel like, because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely, between all of the records that he's done, it's probably his most important, because I think this is the one that really solidified him as, like you said, not a flash in the pan.
Yep.
He's ahead of the time. Yep. It's so 90s and yet it's also so 2022.
Oh yeah.
It's crossed everything. I like Midnight Vultures, great record. Unreal. But I think it's just bleeding more of the stuff he wanted to do on this.
Right.
And the
that's what I was
stuff
saying.
He wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's some little facts about this. So this is the second and final time we'll be talking about Beck on the 500. The first one was 436 for Sea Change. On the 2020 re-rank, Odelay dropped. Ooh, it went down. It went all the way down to 424. What is it ranked right now, Adam?
This one is ranked 306 on our list.
Wow, it dropped 110 spots. Wow.
118 spots, and Sea Change didn't even make the cut. which is crazy.
Maybe your theory that people don't know who Beck is right, but my response is that I think he's okay with that. Like the people who know him and love him, and he's not out there seeking. I don't think he ever made music to seek the fame, the large thing. Anyway,
No.
go ahead with more of the.
But also, here's the thing: is when I went to that Irving Plaza show, it was all dudes my age. It wasn't. There weren't younger people there.
True.
So he's not doing anything that's like bringing a new audience. It's just I think he's
Correct.
making more music for the people that love him, like us. Which I'm
I
fine
think he
with.
tried to do. I think he tried to do that with Colors, and look at your response to it.
So this was Grammy nominated for Album of the Year, along with Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, the Fugees, The Score, and the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. But it lost to. Do you guys know? Do you guess?
Of those three,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Different one.
No. There's one more. There's one more. That's the one that won though, because I fucked it up. It's Celine. It's Celine Dion's "Falling Into You."
yeah. I mean, it's a huge song that had like the Titanic.
What did
song on it.
what did her father say? I mean, her manager. I mean, her husband say.
Whatever. They're getting the three of those confused because it's the same damn person. I mean, the good thing is she looks well these days. I mean, of course, if it were today, the Fugees would win. I mean, I feel like that's just where music has gone, and like that would win album of the year. But like I said, him winning, it's so amazing. It's not like Beck. Here's the thing: it's not like Beck went off into the wilderness and like Mickey Rourke and
Stop making music.
Right, stopped making music and just crawled into a bottle and lived in like a weird area of New Mexico where no one saw him or whatever, and then he like came back to make Morning Phase. He'd been making great music all along, and certainly continuing to make that music. Like you said, not building new audience, but was still making great stuff all along, and then got recognized for it, which was awesome.
Yeah. Here's the thing: out of everybody we just mentioned, he's the only one that I would say is still really relevant. Celine's doing Vegas shows. Smashing Pumpkins, God only knows what happened to them. I mean, they tour, but they didn't really make anything that's been nominated or anything.
They felt very slighted. Smashing Pumpkins felt like they never. You want to talk about a band that feels like they never got the due that they deserve. Billy Corgan is like, he feels like he bought a small time, like a regional wrestling thing that he was doing in like Illinois. He's a cool dude, but he's really bitter about how the music industry and audiences treated him after all the great stuff they put out there. He's really bitter, which I think Beck is not. And the lack of bitterness, I feel like, has allowed him to have like a better career when they both were popular.
And the lack of bitterness and the lack of bitterness, Rand, I think comes from how you define success for yourself, how you define what you consider to be a successful career and a successful run. And if your desire is fame and mass success and superstardom, you will inevitably be let down, because even if when you're at the top, you're always going to come off the top. If your expectations and your goals are to create very cool music that connects with as many people as it possibly can, and that you just get to keep making it, and you make a comfortable living, and you lead a comfortable life, and you get to keep doing it, then that's a way more attainable goal. That's a goal that can like sort of sustain itself for a long time.
It's a happier life. It's a happier life.
Way happier life.
Somebody, I was smoking a cigar with a bigger comic, and I was talking about, we mentioned like Gerard and how I started with Gerard Carmichael, and I was like, yeah, his new special was the best thing he's ever did, and I was like, and then I started talking. He goes, are you guys friends now? I'm like, yeah, we're friends again. And he's like, it's good. I was like, yeah, I was able to drop my resentments at how successful he got so quickly. And he didn't do anything to me, but it was just like, and he goes, you see like how much better your career and your life is when you're able just to be like, it's all good, dude. That's their thing. I'm doing my thing, and nobody's doing what I'm doing, and nobody can do what he does. And that's just the way it is. And from leaving that, I'm like walking around New York City, like high, getting ready to go watch Sigur Rós again. And I'm like, God, dude, life is fucking dope.
I mean, life is dope. And I prefer to call him Rothaniel. That's me. I mean, I choose to call him what he wants to be called, but I mean, that's fine. Like you can bury all of your, anyway.
But I love what you said. Beck is making music for him and himself only. I don't think he gives a shit about any critic. It's only all he's trying to do is make himself and Xenu happy.
I think he's not there anymore. But I would say this, that when I see you, doing stand up, certainly on all the stuff you're doing now, we talk about it a bunch. And also when I see you doing stand up at the beginning of the jam, and when I see you just having fun during the jam, doing things that you're doing in your stand up now, but with the audience and what you're zeroing in on stuff, like you're doing stuff for the band, you're doing stuff for your friends backstage, you're doing it for you, and the audience is loving it, and it's amazing, but it doesn't feel like you're trying to please anyone, except for you trust that what you're doing is great. And as comics, as artists, as musicians, you just have to trust that you know the secret sauce, and you're like, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to make. And so there's something beautiful about Beck just going down that road and being like, I'm not going to make something that's popular and trendy and get with the Migos producers, or that's now so old. But I'm just saying, like, figure out, like, I'm going to get with Kendrick Lamar's producers and make another album. It's like, no, he's not going to do that. He's going to continue to do what he does.
I agree. You guys want to do some rapid fires and get you out of here?
Let's do it.
Rapid fires and rap.
Let's do it. All right. Here we go. We ask every guest these questions. We're not changing them. Not today. Favorite song on the record, Randy?
I think it is Lord Only Knows. I freaking love that song. I love it so much. It's just like, it's this country jam that I love it, and it's beautiful, and the message in it is beautiful. I love that song. It's my favorite song.
Jay?
Mine might be Jackass.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the whistle one?
Yeah. And that ends with the donkey.
Yeah, I'm the one that starts off. That's what I was listening to when I passed out.
This is Jack.
Oh no, then I'm Sissy Neck.
You're Sissy
No,
Neck.
that's Jackass.
Yeah,
yours is Sissy Neck.
Yeah, Jackass is beautiful. Sissy Neck's amazing. Yeah, Sissy Neck is the.
All right. Least favorite song on the record.
Okay.
I mean, I would say probably High Five is like the least one that I can really get into. So like the example is like Novocaine has that like super mellow, chill, amazing, groovy bass line. Boom, 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 boom. There's that sort of thing. High Five is just like high five and a vibe. I mean, it is pretty good, but like it's my least favorite on this whole thing.
I think it's important because it goes then into Ramshackle. It's his most noisy song, and then it's like it
serves its purpose.
Yeah. I think because of the sequencing.
Mine would be Derelict. I don't love Derelict.
You know what? Is it weird if I say the final track on the record, Computer Rock, that's 43 seconds? It's like, no,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's
fair.
Yeah, that's just like someone forgot to turn off the sound equipment and they just recorded it. Beep, 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 beep.
This is a two-part question. One, is this a fuckable album? And two, you have to pick one song off this record to put on your sex playlist. What are you picking?
I would say it is not a fuckable album. We always used to joke. There was an album that came out at this time, Maxwell. Remember Urban Hang Suite? Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite. I was like, Maxwell probably put that album on when he was fucking. You know what I mean? It's like he was that sort of a dude. I don't think it is, because I think it's too discordant in moments that just take you out of like, I mean, this isn't, it's too discordant. But I would say where it's at, even though it does kind of get that way, there is like some sort of gentle movements in there. I don't know.
Devil's Haircut is kind of good.
Yeah, but it gets screamy at certain points.
I know,
but
like, that's maybe the climax.
All right, fine.
3 minutes.
I know. It's just you don't want anything to distract you. When you're closing your eyes and thinking really hard about someone else. What? Just kidding.
I think this is a fuckable album. I might have done it to this. Maybe. I don't know if I've ever really. I don't think I have, but I think I have. It's just I had a lot of sex when this album came out. That's when I first discovered raves and Frosted Tips, and I was adorable.
You were frosty.
I was frosty.
Yeah, we were in New York. I had just.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't met my wife yet. I hadn't met my now wife, but like we were around and like we were
doing a TV show. We were doing a TV
show in New York. It was good times. Good times.
Very good.
All right. Last question. You only get 3 Beck records to listen to the rest of your life. What are you picking?
So I get Odelay, I get Midnight Vultures, and Sea Change. Those three. Those three
Okay.
just do it for me.
Yeah, I think those are my three too. I hate to agree. I hate to be on Randy's to be, I guess, Randy's twin on this one. But yes, those are my three by a long shot, actually.
I think I'm gonna go Sea Change, Odelay, and I think I do. Fuck, man, it's either Mutations or Morning Phase. I
Cool.
really, dude. When Morning Phase came out, I literally
man,
I had
love
downloaded it illegally. I also bought it, but I remember sitting. I was so excited, and I sat and I just put headphones on, sat at my computer chair, and
Yep,
just
yep.
listened to the record. And
Yep.
then when it got to the song, which I've never heard him play live, called "Turn Away,"
Yeah.
it was this. I started weeping because my buddy Angelo, who we loved Sea Change so much, I
Mhm.
knew that what he would have thought
Thought
of
of that.
song,
You were
and it just like killed me. So because of that moment and what he did, it's like he can do no wrong. Even
I
with
mean-
Colors, and I hated Colors, I was like, dude, he's good.
So here's how much I love Midnight Vultures. I have Morning Phase, I have Sea Change, I have the newest one, I have Colors, I have Odelay, all on vinyl. They apparently lost the master tapes, or they burned in a fire for Midnight Vultures. It is so troubling to me that it hasn't been re-released on vinyl. If you go on Discogs and look for, and I do it all the time to see if the price goes down, that record is $315 or $400 to get a original copy of Midnight Vultures. That's how much I love that record. And so again, I put that with this, is that I continually check Discogs to see if the price
But
goes
you
down.
don't love
so
it
I
enough to buy it, is what you're trying
I
to
mean,
say. Love it
I don't
enough
love
to
it
look
enough.
for it.
No, but I love it enough to look for it, to keep tabs on it.
I look for a lot of things online. I look
Man,
for
I'll jump.
yachts.
I'm not gonna find the girl. I'm join the search party.
Promote away, guys. Whatever you want to promote.
Go
ahead.
for it, Rand. Promote us up, because then we got to.
So we are. We're gonna be doing a show in LA. If you guys are in LA, we're gonna be doing a show at the HB Rec Room, headlining that on the 23rd of July. We love it. We're doing shows. We got dates in the fall. We've got a bunch of dates in the fall. We're gonna be doing Ann Arbor, Michigan, the 23rd and 24th, the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. We're doing our podcast live at the Analog in the Hutton Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm so stoked about that.
Nice.
Dumb People Town. And then that's on Thursday the 14th. Right. And then Thursday the 13th. The 14th will be in Chicago. We're going to do it live. 15th, we're at a casino in Tulsa. And then the 16th, we're at the Bell House in New York. And I'm going to announce it here. My favorite, I've been contacting back and forth with this guy, one of my favorite new artists that we've ever come and found in the last several years. Guy's name's Max Clark. His band is called Cutworms. It's amazing. It sounds like a newer version of the Everly Brothers, and he is so freaking talented and so good. He is going to be playing music live, and then we'll
That's
get great
awesome.
guests. So
That's awesome.
all that's happening. We'll put all that on our websites. And then we have a big show coming out on the UFC Fight Pass called The Nosebleeds. It's like a reboot of Cheap Seats, 6 episodes dropping in August on UFC Fight Pass. We love this show so much. We love it so much. It's coming out, and we're so proud of it. So watch for us on that. That's going to drop. They'll drop the first episode on UFC's YouTube page. But again, it's called The Nosebleeds. John Hamm did something in it. Mary Lynn
Everybody.
did something in it. Yeah, I mean, John Hamm, Mary, you saw the whole thing of it.
saw it.
Rob
At the
Corddry, and
At
at the Delta
Sky
Lounge.
Club. Yeah, dude.
Andy Richter, Rob Corddry, Tony Hale. I mean, just insane guest stars to come in and do sketches with us. And then it's just us making jokes over the old weird footage from UFC's library that they themselves would be like, that's so embarrassing. Why would we do that? Because we know who we are today. It's like looking at an old yearbook picture. It's like looking at the frosted tips, Josh. You're like,
Yeah,
what was
dude.
I thinking?
Look at who I became, though.
Look at who I became. And you love who you are now, so you can go back and make fun of yourself then.
I love it. I love
That's
it. And if there's any two people that should be doing that, there's nobody better at doing it than the two of you.
Thanks,
And I love I love you guys. And I know
too, man.
I know Randy's dealing with COVID.
Oh man, I got the
protection.
booster last night and it just laid me out. So I'm sorry, but this was awesome. I could talk
This
about
was
this
great.
under any circumstances.
This
I
is
love you,
great.
Josh.
I love you
buddy.
guys. I will see you soon. Thank you for doing it. Adam, you rule. Me and Adam got into a fight earlier.
Yeah,
He
it's
All
he
good.
loves me.
All good. All good.
All right, Josh.
All right. Bye, guys.